Welcome back to the channel. I'm Dan. I'm joined by Ben, and we are previewing Chelsea versus Ghent in what is a long-awaited return of European football back at Stamford Bridge. Thursday night, 8 o'clock. We will be under the lights playing European football. Ben, how are you doing? Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, thoroughly looking forward to being back in Europe under the lights, as Dan's just said. I've missed it. I really have. The last time I saw Chelsea in Europe, I believe, was the Real Madrid game, Mendy's mistake. We tried clawing it back that game, that in the second leg, but it wasn't meant to be. But I'm glad it's back, and there's something about Chelsea in Europe that just feels right. Not too sure it's the competition I'd like us to be in, but it just does feel right, Chelsea being back in Europe.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, isn't it? When you see how Manchester United are playing right now, and they're the team that pipped us to the Europa League, and we're the ones that ended up with the Conference League, and now we're flying. They're struggling, and actually embarrassing England on a European front in that competition right now after their performance against Twente. I wish that could be us in the Europa League. I really do, playing against some better teams. Look, the Conference League is what it is. I said before a ball was kicked, I wanted semi-final as an absolute minimum. I know you think a little bit differently to me on that. And obviously now looking at what Chelsea have got, we've got an embarrassment of riches going forwards. You think we could probably achieve a little bit more than that, don't you?
Yeah, I think we should be winning it, really. Squad depth is definitely there, and I think in comparison to other squads that are in the competition, I think we've got it in abundance. And obviously, I think we should be able to get through the group stages or the league, if whatever you want to call it. We should be able to do that fairly smoothly, comfortably. But then I think in the latter stages, when you get the inclusion of Palmer, I do think that we are a very strong outfit. And I think all the biggest problem we're going to have is just game management, whether or not you need the bigger players or the main squad to be put in and feature along the way. I think that's just the biggest factor. But I do think we should be winning it. Getting to the final is a minimum, but once you're there, you obviously don't want to lose it. So that's the standard I'm setting.
Yeah, I think when you look at the teams that are in it, we're looking at Fiorentina as a two times finalist without a win in this competition. They're going to be hungry to try and do well again. And probably quality wise in their squad as well. They're probably one of the closest to us. I think David De Gea is there, Moise Kean. Real Betis, another side that are well known enough in European football. And Copenhagen are probably it for me, as I see teams that would potentially sort of be able to go the distance in this competition. Obviously, it can throw up anything. It's a new format. We're not seeing Europa League teams dropping into it as well. So, look, we're absolutely blessed to have a squad as deep as we do going into this competition, because we absolutely have the most quality without doubt. We've left the likes of Cole Palmer off the squad list. Lavia's off the squad list. Fofana's off the squad list. Ben Chilwell's off the squad list as well. There's a lot of players here, though, that are going to be fighting for their place in this competition. And we saw against Barrow a little bit of rotation. We saw almost a straight swap for every position. I'm expecting to see pretty much the same throughout the duration of this competition. I know you mentioned if we get to the latter stages, probably looking at bringing in Cole Palmer and some of the higher quality players to play a slightly bigger part in this competition. I think you're right. As long as we can get the players that we've got with the so-called quality of Nkunku, João Felix, Mudryk having a good tournament, Pedro Neto, defensively Tosin, Jorgensen sort of established himself as a top European goalie as well. These sort of players, if they can have a good tournament, Chelsea could quite easily walk this competition. However, game management, injuries, European experience, traveling, European hangovers is something that gets thrown around with the Conference League and Europa League. We've got some ridiculously long travel journeys on some of the away games. Obviously, we've got Astana, who aren't even playing in Astana. I think it's like a 20-hour round trip. We've got Noah, who are from Armenia. We've got a really interesting group and some brilliant away days in there and some brilliant home ties as well. But that's the sort of thing that throws up a little bit of uncertainty, isn't it? We saw that with Servette in the qualifiers. Bit of a different team now. Are you a bit more confident in what you've seen in this competition already for Chelsea in terms of qualifying for it?
Yeah, I am. Um, my big, like I say, my biggest problem is game management. And then obviously you've alluded to the traveling, the trips are incredible. I worry about the little bit of inexperience that we do have, but I do think the quality may outshine that unless we come up against the better outfit that have been in the competition before. I can't say that I've watched too much of the Conference League in previous years. I don't care about West Ham. I'm unhappy that they won it, to be honest. But I do honestly think, and I've said this since it started, an English club should always be winning this competition. I just think that if we're the best league in the world, then we need to start showing it on a European stage. And you start in the smaller competitions, essentially, especially when you have a team with the name that Chelsea do. I honestly think that it brings expectation and weight, which is another thing that the players are going to have to manage, and especially Maresca as well. They're all new factors. It's an experience that majority of this team haven't had. I don't believe so anyway. They may have played in Europe elsewhere, but I'm pretty sure the majority of the players that will be in the predicted started 11 have had a lack of European game time. There is a couple of big names saying that have had probably a lot of European football in the Champions League.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mix, isn't it, between the two? There's definitely some players that haven't played much European football at all, and there's definitely some players that have played at the highest level and in the Champions League. And Kunku, João Felix, they've definitely been there. And if they haven't, some of them have played international football at the highest level.
Sure.
Look, we'll go on to the squads and have a look. We're not going to bring up Ghent's squad and talk about how they might set up because we're not going to dress it up. We're not Belgian football experts. We don't know loads about them, but Ben's been doing a little bit of research, as have I. They've played 9 games this season, won 5, lost 3, drawn 1. They currently sit third in the Belgium league, just behind Antwerp and Genk, currently above Club Bruges, who are all teams that I know, and I do know Ghent as a side, so they're definitely not one of the more obscure teams in the competition. We've had a look through their squad. Ben found out something really interesting. Do you want to hit us with that fact?
Yeah, Ida Johnson's son, Andre, I believe it said, is a striker for Ghent. So I'm sure he'll get a warm welcome. He's 22 years old, so he may have been very young when Ida paraded around the pitch with a Premier League trophy in hand and a kid in the other, maybe. But there is a possibility that he's been in the stands watching the same games that we've all been at. And I don't think it's quite nice to find a link between the two clubs because I don't personally think that there is many links between Kent and Chelsea. I'm not sure about previous fixtures. There might have been some in the
I,
snowy
I
days in the
Yeah, I was
nineties,
trying to
but
think of former players. Is it Courtois? Has Courtois played for Ghent, or is it was he at
yeah,
Ghent?
I seem I can almost picture Couture with the Red Indian is
Yeah, no, he
or
wasn't
the
actually. I've just checked. He was at Genk. So, to be honest with
with
you,
De
I
Bruyne.
don't. Is it De Bruyne? No, De Bruyne was at
No,
Ghent
he was
too.
Genk as well.
Yeah, Genk. Sorry. Oh, it gets a bit
Not a clue.
confusing, doesn't it, when they've got pretty much the same name? But look, like you said, it's a great little link between Ida and obviously Chelsea and Ghent with his son playing for one of the teams. If he comes on, I say we give him a clap, Chelsea fans. If you're there, obviously, if Ida's there, obviously he'll get a fantastic reception as a Chelsea legend. I'm absolutely sure of that. Look, we'll go into Chelsea's 11. What we think it will probably be quite a lot of rotation if we're being honest. Very similar suggested 11, we think, as what we might have seen in the Barrow game, just because we have the riches in the squad to do it. We saw a very convincing performance against Barrow from a lot of these players, albeit a couple probably didn't live up to what we were expecting to see. Ben, any players jumping out to you in this fixture and what you want to see from them?
I want to see a lot from Mudryk, to be honest. He's a player that I've wanted to do well at Chelsea. He's a likable character. Um, I do think he can excel on a European stage, and I think he's got all the attributes for it. To be perfectly honest, he's a quick, skillful winger, and I think there has been a couple of games where we've seen him be standout, and there's also a couple of games where we haven't seen him do as well against lesser opposition. But I want Mudryk to do quite well in this competition. maybe it's a negative point, but I am a little bit concerned about Dewsbury Hall being in the squad, and I think Cassaday's just a little bit too safe. And essentially, I see that as quite boring because I want to see exciting football under Maresca, and I think in the Prem we've all been pretty excited watching Chelsea. Um, but the predicted lineup obviously is I would say very strong. I think the defense is. I'll be honest. If I was an attacker coming up against his defense, I'd be a little bit concerned. I wouldn't. If you were up for a challenge, I would look at this like it'd be a fun game for you. But if you didn't like the challenge, I think there is a possibility that this could be a tough game for you, especially on the right and left back. Vega is, from what I've seen, he looks solid. Um, he's a big character, loves a slide challenge, wants to get the fans up for the game, and we all know that the Sassy is essentially a cheerleader. Um, he's question marks around his footballing ability, but he wants to play for the team, and he's a big unit. So I
Yeah,
think
this
there's a
defense is
possibility.
full of mountains, isn't it?
Yeah, I I would like to say that I believe we've got a set piece coach now. If he's
Yeah.
done any work with them, I'd like to think that this defense could potentially be a threat going forward and also solid in the at defense in defense. Sorry, but I would like to see Jorgensen just highlighted a little bit more because I don't really know what he's about. I didn't watch him at Villarreal very much. I've seen a couple of clips, but I don't particularly know what he's about. I thought there was a couple of occasions against Barrow. He looked a little bit unconfident when he was on the ball, but I think Barrow was just up for the game and the press was a little bit more than maybe he expected. But Sanchez is a little bit nervy when he's got control of the ball. So I'd like to see what Jorgensen's about in that situation, and if he's a possible replacement for Sanchez, being that Sanchez is what 27, and I wouldn't say he's nailed down the goalkeeping position at Chelsea since he's been here.
Yeah,
But
I'd have to agree with you on most of it, to be honest. I think it's a perfect opportunity for the majority of the team to really make a name for themselves and definitely keep sort of showing that they're up to the level of getting themselves into the starting 11 of the Premier League squad. But when you look at that, I mean, there isn't a team in the competition that's got a team as good as that starting for them, bar Chelsea. So, yeah, I think, look, there's definitely room for improvement in that 11, but realistically, against Conference League teams, you think it should have enough. I agree with you, Dewsbury Hall, Cassaday. I want to see them running the game a little bit more. Mudrik's obviously been standout in the Champions League in years gone by. Probably the reason that he was hyped up and got the fee that he got was because of performances against Real Madrid, and what he did under De Zerbi at Shakhtar in this competition was fantastic. Jao Felix, another one who's played Champions League football, and Kunku the same. I want to see more from them. Pedro Neto yet to really establish himself as a 60 million pound winger for the club. So all these sort of players have got massive opportunities, but also a couple of question marks around them that this sort of competition could definitely help them sort of solidify their place in the team, or sort of help us as fans to understand what they might offer. You got any score predictions for it? I'm pretty sure you'd be confident of a win going into this one.
I am confident of a win. I would like to think that with the knowledge of European football, the European teams do not like sitting in and defending. That's normally an English thing. Maybe it's stretched out to a couple of the European sides, but you often see big scorelines with European teams because they aren't cagey teams and they get taught to play to win, not play to not lose. Um, so I think that could possibly feed into our hands. If that does, and we can catch them on counter attacks like we've been doing in the Prem, or even just playing around them, I'm confident enough that we've got the quality to do that. Um, I would I would like to say that we won't concede a goal. I think we look solid enough. I think Tosin's a pretty good centre back, and Badiashile, we've seen him have good games, and when he's got confidence, I think he's quite a good player. Um,
Do you think that that fits for most of this 11? Is that a lot of them are the sort of players that have struggled when they've lacked confidence, and this could be a great opportunity for them to get some confidence
yeah,
out of
quite
some
possibly.
easier performances, hopefully?
But and Kunku and Felix, I don't think really come into this conversation because we all know that they've got the ability to play in our first team
Yeah,
or
true.
Like
Mudryk
they're just
Badashile, we've seen in glimpses, haven't we?
yeah,
Look really good, but I think they do take. They've both made high-profile sort of mistakes or had bad games,
yeah.
and their performances have dropped off significantly after those moments. The same with Jorgensen as well. He's another player that we don't really know about, but he cost a lot of money, as did half of this squad. So yeah, I think a lot of these players, their Chelsea careers could be on the line, and this is a great sort of competition to show whether or not they're going to be able to stay at Chelsea or be moved on. Because the likes of Disasi, I look at and think if Reece James was fit and playing every week, Gusto would probably be starting this game. Where's he fitting in? That's what I'd worry about. So those are the sort of players that I think need to really put in some solid performances. I'm going to say Chelsea win this game 3-1. I'm still not sold on us defensively. I expect the midfield to turn up a lot more than they did against the League Two outfit in Barrow. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Chelsea can go and get the win in this one. I'm sure we'll be discussing it in detail afterwards if we do or we don't. But hopefully, it's pretty much a routine victory. Anything to add, Ben, before we go?
No, not really. I just hope the game is enjoyable, and I don't want it to be too cagey from our side, and the risk of mistake to be heightened. But I'm confident, and I just want to make sure that obviously I can't do anything about it, but I just want Chelsea to go into these sort of games confident that we're going to win, and we show that on the pitch. And I believe that we've got a good enough team to do that. I didn't actually say what my score prediction was. I just said we weren't going to concede. I think it'll be 2-0.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to concede, and I think if it is a cagey game, then I think we've got enough to get a couple of goals. But
Yeah,
I just want to see a win.
a nice solid win would be a great way to
Yeah,
start off in this competition, especially for Maresca as well. No real European management experience, so it's going to be a learning curve for a lot of these players and management and coaching staff as well. But there is a Champions League
100%.
winner in this setup, Willy Caballero. I'm confident that we will be making sure that this team go out there with the right mindset in every single fixture. But look, it's been an absolute pleasure, Ben, chatting to you
Yeah.
about this. I'm sure we'll catch up later on in the week once this game's happened, and we'll preview the weekend and review everything that's gone on in this one. But look, thanks for coming on. If you haven't already, guys, make sure to smash a like. We're trying to get 30 likes on this. And subscribe if you're new, because we're on the road to 3,000 subscribers on the channel before Christmas, and I would love to make that happen. I'll catch you all in a bit. See you soon.
See you soon.